The real estate market around the world is at its peak in many cases. I'm talking today about China purchasing real estate in Canada and the US at very, very high rates. Let's take a look at some of this right now. I'm going to go through this quickly. There's quite a bit to cover, so I'm just going to take a little tidbits of each one here. Chinese to spend billions on American real estate. And they're talking about wealthy Chinese. They got a few million won and they want to spend billions on the US real estate, and they're doing so. I'll go into a few of those right now. Chinese buying up California housing. And this is also apparent in other West Coast areas like Vancouver in Canada. Let's go on quickly. China moves to U.S. projects, and then the subtitle being investors taking on distressed properties in cities such as Detroit. For those who don't know what's going on in Detroit, you can pick up properties that for unrealistic prices right now. And of course, they're not necessarily desirable areas. However, it is an opportunity for foreign investors to get in. They could buy whole neighborhoods, whole subdivisions if they choose to. Chinese keep buying U.S. real estate. And let's go on. Even, this is even the case in Toronto, in Canada, and they're spending what they're saying $30 billion on international property in 2012 alone. This is a massive quantity foreign real estate markets for these Chinese. I wrote something in my book, you can see the diagram right here, about the way our system's working. We are funding and fueling China and other developing nations, but let's focus on China for this video. So while we give them things like government bonds, they are giving us real products, which we spend and buy their products like that. And what's happening? We're giving them these IOUs. Now they're taking their own currency, the yuan, and they are now buying up real estate all around the world. So essentially converting their yuan into dollars, but holding those dollars into something real. Yes, it's denominated in a US dollar, for example, but it's held in a real asset. And they see some value in this. And of course, I do as well. The problem I have is this. Consumer debt increased in the third quarter by $127 billion. I'm looking and I'm doing the research here for this, and I'm noticing that household debt, consumer debt, everything is at its highest it's ever been, or near that high right now. We are at extreme levels of debt here. Meanwhile, you have Chinese investors who are coming over and scooping up these properties that we simply cannot afford. I'll go into this chart over here. Household debt ratio rises, and this is at 163%. So people are spending so much more than they can actually afford to. And of course, this spells disaster. Look at this chart right here. It's going up consistently year over year. So you have these Chinese investors who can come over here, purchase these properties. We can't afford them. Just for an example, in Toronto here, the average housing price, you're looking at about $600,000. They're now buying every home is now selling, if you're going to the nicer areas, selling for 20 and even instances of 30% over the asking price. And that's not a rarity. That's actually happening fairly consistently, where you get a 20 and 30% increase on top of the asking price. This is absurd levels. This reminds me of the real estate boom in the US, where people were just buying them at any price. It didn't matter, because they could just find the buyer, no problem. So we have at extreme levels, and this is obviously going to spell disaster. But to go back to the original point, was that the Chinese are able to buy these homes here because they are fueled by our energy that we're using up over here. We send our money over there. They're able to then purchase, and they're obviously, despite the fact that they have their own troubles as well, it seems like many wealthy investors, many wealthy families from China are able to then purchase homes here, and we can't afford them. Something is up here, and it does not spell a good future for us, that's for sure. I want you guys to get onto the Money GPS Insiders. It is an excellent place where I can really essentially bring the Money GPS 2.0 to all of the subscribers here. And there's growing support on there, of course, and that's really great. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching these videos, please subscribe.